Alright guys, this video is still about UFC 195. I just got the numbers on my thing here, calculator, my financial calculator somewhere around here, but I did crunch the numbers. I did look over a few articles, and I recently did a video. Let me get my camera where you can see me properly. I recently did a video on Jose Aldo getting a rematch, and in that video I believe he would have gotten a rematch based on the fact that the UFC polls had him at 39%. But now that I've gotten the numbers back from UFC 195 in terms of what the gate did, the estimates of the PPV and so forth, and based on my analysis of what's happening here, I do not think he'll be getting a rematch soon, because I think the UFC is in a position where no, they have no choice but to push the hybrid earners, the high winners. That they, I mean, in 2014, 15 they were doing horribly. 2014 they did horribly. In 2015 they were doing horribly, and then Ronda Rousey and Conor McGregor, Anderson Silva spiked it up and turned around for them by 65%. So when Anderson Silva, John Jones, Ronda Rousey, or Conor McGregor don't fight, the average pay-per-view buy is between 100,000 to 400,000. Okay, when they do fight, it's a bit higher. It's in 600, 800,000 and million mark. So in order to keep the momentum going, they're gonna have to either give Conor McGregor a title shot at the Sanyas, or give him a fight with Frank or Edgar in his hometown. And based on the numbers that I've seen so far, I also believe that UFC 196 is not going to do as well, because when Cain Velasquez fight, his average buy somewhere in the 38, somewhere between 380 and 450. So I don't think that's going to do as well. And pretty much the fans right now, the way things are working with the UFC, it's almost in decline, because Fox 11 recently, the decline in viewership actually went down by about 21 or 23%. I'll check that number and get back to you, but I read it somewhere that went down by that much. So what's happening now is that even though the trend in pay-per-view buys are down, but for specific fighters that trend goes up. I got my iPad here. I think I have a graph on it. I'm gonna show it to you just because. 1 second. I put my password in. So based on what I'm seeing, no, I don't believe Allo is gonna be able to get a shot anytime soon, and that's because of the way the trend is with the pay-per-view. Now look at this. This is 2000. You see it? Okay, I'll hold it back all the way up here by the face and get the light out of the way. Hopefully you can see. Can you see it? You can't see it really good. I'm sorry. You can't. Here we go. You can't see it real good. That's my family and whatnot. You probably can't see it real good. So I'll probably put a link to the graph somewhere, and then I'll walk you through them. But based on the data I have here, this is Ronda Rousey pay-per-view, right? Can you see that? These are all Ronda Rousey events. So she is a high earner. Now this is 2015. Okay? The two highest bar towards the end that you see, Ronda Rousey, Conor McGregor, Ronda Rousey, Conor McGregor, Anderson Silva. Everybody else, you see that they're down. Ronda Rousey. This is year over year. Now, this dot, I don't know if you can see this properly, but it's dot right here, all the way to the bottom. Brings back somewhere. It's 2014 here and 2015, and that spike that came about in viewership was actually because of Conor McGregor and Ronda Rousey. So pay-per-view and pay-per-view buys are in decline, but the numbers here that I just see, no, and I'm going to talk about the numbers based on what I've crunched. The numbers that I see here indicate to me that only specific athletes are going to be on the cards, the high dollar earners, and then you're going to stack other people underneath. So Demetrius Johnson, his pay-per-view buys are they're very low. So he's gonna probably his last pay-per-view buy was in I get that number right now, $135,000 when he defended his title. 135,000 buys in pay-per-view. So he would probably be stacked on a card with Conor McGregor, like a double hitter type deal, but he's not gonna be just have headlining his own fight card. So he'll probably be on the card on one of the high earners, maybe Ronda Rousey, maybe Silver, or even maybe Jones come here. So what I'm seeing here is that the gate attendance, the amount was 2 million, right? And the total attendance is 10,300. That's an average buy of $194.17. Now, let me see. I'm gonna come back to that. Let me just get the numbers, and I'm gonna break down what these numbers really mean in terms of the financials. Okay. Now, UFC 182, I had similar attendance. They had a total of 11,575 people, and their gate was $3 million, 3.7. Now, the reason why I choose those comparisons is because the attendance is close in numbers, but the revenue is completely different. The revenue is a difference of $1.7 million. So what that means simply is that the difference between the attendance of UFC 195 and UFC 182 was only 1,275 people, and the difference in that revenue was $1.7 million. So that seems to mean to me that the average buy, the difference in the average buy between those amounts, when you break that down, is $1,333. That tells me that when UFC 182 took place, the high price tickets, those were sold out. Bam. The low price tickets, those were leveled off. When UFC 195 took place, the low price tickets were probably sold off with a mixture of high price tickets. They didn't get that volume that they were looking for. And so I don't have all the detailed statistics in front of me, so I couldn't tell you the median and the average. But based on what I'm seeing and watching the fights and seeing the way the camera panned around the audience, I could tell that there were like some seats in the back missing in the way they bunched everybody in. So what I'm trying to say now is that if you're looking at this from just a perspective, you can see that there's going to be fundamental weaknesses in the way the pay-per-views are running. And same thing with the low $2 million that gate attendance. Conor McGregor brought in, like, he said his gate was what, like 10 or 7 million something. So you know what's going on. His gate was spectacularly high. This is 2 million. This is like super chump change we're talking about here. And once the fighter paid, once we see all the payouts and the bonuses come up from the Nevada Commission, then we'll be able to know what the event itself brought in. So I think that I suspect that the event had a net loss or close to a net loss, and that the Reebok sponsorship money was kind of used to cushion some of the fighter reduce some of the fighter payment costs. That's what I suspect. So now, why are these numbers so important? It sounds, I normally talk about fights and matchups, but I'm a numbers guy, so I got it. When it's happening in front of me, I got it. I can't resist it. It's important because what this is showing is that the strategy of Bellator is working. They're forcing the UFC to just stack up and stack up and stack up, and by doing that, notice that this time around the live stream viewers exceeded all other UFC buys. The live stream viewers broke records. You know why? Because those people paid a $9 subscription fee, but those were the same people that say, "Hey, listen, I'm not gonna go beyond the line and spend the money. I have the fee. I'm gonna watch the preliminaries, and I'm gonna enjoy that. And that's as far as I'm willing to go. I'm not gonna pay for UFC 194, then come back again and pay for UFC 195. It's not gonna happen." So that's why the viewership was so large in terms of that. Now the pay-per-view buys, I estimate those between 300,000 and 400,000. So as from a promotional perspective and finance perspective, I said this one compared to the others, I'd say it's fairly dismal. I'm gonna say it's not kind of success that the UFC was looking for. And UFC 196, I think suspect is gonna be the same way. Pay-per-view buys are gonna be low. The gate made it between 3 and 4 million, if that much. So I don't. It's too soon. It's just coming right up after this. It's stacked too close. And when you look at the chart I just showed you, the events that are stacked close together, when it's two big names through the roof, when it's two small names, it tends to trend down. So that trend card I showed, hey, you gotta go with the big names. So from this all this data now that I just maybe bored you with or killed you with, I say that what's gonna happen is that the UFC is gonna have to give Conor McGregor his title shot so they can get the pay-per-views up in the 150 division, and they're also going to have to allow him to fight in the 145 division. So they want to force him to vacate the title, but I don't see that happening. So the next fight I see coming up is Frankie Edgar, Conor McGregor, based on these numbers. And when they do that, they may also stack Demetrius Johnson on the card and have them as a Frankie Edgar, Conor McGregor as maybe the main card, and Demetrius Johnson as an undercard, or put Ronda Rousey as the main card, and then these two guys here as the undercard. But what I'm seeing from the numbers is that UFC, I think that the margins that they're disclosing, like 600 million in revenue, 500 million, I think those are just like gross margins, like the gross revenue, and not the net revenue. I think the net revenue, I think that because of the way the business is structured, they have to keep costs low. The net revenue might not be as high as we're thinking it is, and what they're trying to do is do a lot of expansion. So a lot of their money is going into building infrastructure and building the organization. So they have very tight margins, and that's probably one of the reasons why they pay the fighters such low money. Now, based on what I've seen with these numbers, these numbers that are coming back here, I really believe that they're gonna have to make the next couple of tickets mind blowing to get people to buy. They're gonna have to do that. They're really gonna have to do that. So what's gonna have to happen is that pretty soon we'll see John Jones fighting Anderson Silva. He's coming up UFC Fight Night. They're gonna have to roll all the big names, and they're gonna have to stack them further apart so that people have time to make the decision if they want to buy or not. And if they do put the fights on the press pass, main events and press pass, they'll be cannibalizing their own product line. There's not going to be any need for me to buy the pay-per-view at $46 when I can go ahead and just watch it for $9 a month. So they may think that they can increase their subscription base by doing that, but it's not going to go as smooth. So based on what I'm seeing with these numbers, I think the UFC is in a bad spot right now. They're going to have to bring out the big names to make it work. So Conor McGregor, I see Conor McGregor, Frankie Edgar coming up next. I see right off the break, I see John Jones fighting Daniel Cormier next. That's why he gets the immediate title shot, because they know from these numbers that he's a big revenue bringer. So that's what I said next. Then after that, after the fight between Frankie Edgar, then I believe Jose Aldo will get his shot at the title. That's how they're gonna have to do it. And then when Jose Aldo get his shot at the title, they may stack Ronda Rousey on top of that as the main card. That's the way they're gonna have to, because right now it seems like they have the drive on their top, but these numbers are telling me that the UFC is is in decline. The pay-per-view buys are in decline, and if they're not careful in 2016, they may actually find themselves in a really bad spot financially in terms of expansions and logistics and what they're doing, fighter retention. Condit said he's gonna retire. Now, who wouldn't pay good money to say Condit Lala rematch? You see, he said he's gonna retire. So that's, those people, and then trying to get GSP back in the mix may actually help them. But for right now, I see they're gonna have some real struggles, and Bellator is also hot on their heels. So this is the recap for the numbers, financial part of it. And once the Nevada Commission released the other payouts, I'm gonna go ahead and back into those numbers, subtracting the bonus and the payouts from the attendance, and then reducing the actual fighter payouts from the Reebok amount. And also keep in mind that the Reebok amount actually reduces the cost of fighter payouts. That's why I'm backing it out. But once I get those numbers, I'll go over them again. But for right now, the numbers and the analytics are telling me that Allah won't get the rematch. And I know in a previous video I was excited about Allah getting the rematch because historically the UFC has always followed the polls to give fighters the rematch based on what the fans say. But this time, the way the numbers are, they're gonna have to go and just set up the hot matches, almost like a WWE type deal. And I was growing up, I used to watch WWE, and the most exciting thing was Stinger versus Nature Boy Ric Flair. And it was like, I'm gonna beat you down. I'm gonna. So it's gonna have to. The promotion is gonna start taking on a more WWE feel, a more circus atmosphere. That's what they're gonna have to do to get people pumped up, and because typically fights with that revenge or a fight back attitude, those are the ones that people want to watch. But these numbers are telling me, hey, they're not out of the woods as yet. They're not out of the woods. UFC 196 is probably not going to perform well. The viewership on Fox is trending down, and once that those type of things, when you start seeing a downward trend, it means that the fans have assessed what you have, and they're just not interested. Because you can't give me something for free every now and then sell it to me every now and then. So there is no consistency, and with this type of behavior, where there is no clear idea of who is next in the fight, you're sending mixed messages to the fans. And once you start sending mixed messages to the fans, your product and your brand, we begin to disassociate ourselves from it because hey, we don't know what to expect. And you're gonna just tell us, okay, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. I'm waiting to say, we don't have that kind of time. We, friends, we want clarity. We want to say what's next. We want to be able to plan our schedule about plan what fights we're gonna buy, what fights we're not gonna buy. You can't just say, okay, well, we'll see what's gonna happen. So it's a both lightweight division, featherweight division. Those divisions are in flux right now, to where they're most in some kind of limbo. So until that limbo gets resolved, the other events that gets put on, people probably will just say, you know what, I don't want to buy those. I'm saving my money for when the other events come on or when Ronda Rousey comes out. Because that's just the way it is. So the UFC is gonna have to start stacking those cards in order to get people motivated to buy the pay-per-views. I think that the bright side of this, which I didn't see before, but the bright side of this is that Jose Aldo, he's in a good spot. Because now, there's always a honeymoon period when a new fighter is a new hottest thing and all that type of stuff. And when that period wears off, Dana White is going to have to come back to him knocking at his door, because everybody is going to want to see that unanswered question get answered. So Jose Aldo, he's in a good spot, and he's going to get the more money that he wants specifically. So I think maybe that's the reason where all the footage and photographs I've seen of Aldo since recently, he's just been chilling. Now this video is very long because I had to go into the numbers and the trends and that type of stuff. Maybe next time I'll make it more compressed. Sorry if I wore you down with the numbers, but I really am excited, and I love the business side of it. I love the fight side of it. And in my next video, part 2 is gonna actually be about the action, the blow by blow, the breakdown, and that type of stuff. All right, guys, thanks for your time. That's my 2 cents. Peace out.